Most people believe they struggle with consistency because they lack motivation. They start strong. They feel inspired for a while. Then life happens. Energy drops, distractions creep in, momentum fades. Eventually, progress resets, and they assume the problem is them. But motivation was never the real problem. Motivation is unreliable by design. It fluctuates based on sleep, stress, emotions, environment, and circumstances you can't control. That makes it a terrible foundation for long-term progress. When motivation fades, effort becomes inconsistent. And when effort becomes inconsistent, confidence erodes. People don't stop because they're lazy. They stop because progress feels random. One week feels productive, the next week feels like nothing worked. And without a clear reason why, most people do what feels logical in the moment. They restart. New plan, new routine, new burst of motivation. But restarting doesn't solve the real issue. The real issue is lack of feedback. When you can't see what's working, effort turns into guessing. When effort turns into guessing, consistency collapses. This is where systems matter. A lot of people misunderstand what a system actually is. They think a system is a rigid routine, or a strict schedule, or something that removes flexibility, but a real system does the opposite. A system gives you clarity. It shows you what matters, what doesn't, and where your effort actually makes a difference. Without that clarity, effort spreads thin. You try to do everything. You react instead of decide. And progress feels exhausting instead of reinforcing. That's why motivation burns out so quickly. Motivation is constantly asked to make decisions it was never designed to make. What should I focus on today? Is this working? Should I keep going or try something else? A system answers those questions in advance. It removes decision fatigue. It replaces emotional judgment with information. And once that happens, effort stops feeling heavy. You're no longer pushing blindly. You're following signals. That's the part most people never experience. They assume consistency requires more discipline, when what it really requires is fewer decisions. Systems solve this by making progress visible. A system doesn't rely on how you feel. It doesn't depend on willpower or discipline. It creates feedback. Feedback shows you what to repeat. It shows you what to adjust. And it removes the need to guess. When progress becomes visible, something important happens. Consistency stops feeling like discipline and starts feeling natural. You're no longer asking, "Do I feel motivated today?" You're asking, "What does the system say?" That shift is subtle but powerful. Systems keep working on average days. They keep working on tired days. They keep working when motivation disappears completely. That's why people who rely on systems don't constantly restart. They adjust. And adjustment compounds. Over time, progress stops feeling fragile. Momentum becomes predictable. Confidence grows, not because you're trying harder, but because the process is stable. This is the difference most people never make. They chase motivation instead of designing structure. They rely on effort instead of feedback. And that's why progress keeps resetting. If consistency has felt harder than it should, if effort hasn't been translating into results, it's not because you're broken. It's because motivation was doing a job it was never meant to do. Structure solves that. Systems solve that. And once you understand this, progress stops feeling like a fight and starts feeling inevitable.